One LASIK practice converts 75% of their consultations into surgery. Another practice in the same market with the same technology and the same price range struggles to hit even 40%. That gap is not just a statistic. That is hundreds of missed procedures, hundreds of patients who said, I need to think about it, and hundreds of thousands, sometimes even millions in lost revenue. And here's the part most practices get wrong. They blame marketing, they blame lead quality, they blame price shoppers, they blame the economy. But a lot of time, the problem is sitting right in the middle of the patient decision-making process. Your refractive coordinator. And most practices hire this position completely wrong. I'm Paul Stubenbordt with Denali Creative, and I started my career in ophthalmology as a refractive coordinator back in 2001. I was inside of a private practice doing more than 1,000 eyes a month. And I didn't realize it at the time, but that experience taught me one of the most important lessons in elective healthcare marketing. The marketing can get the patient to call. The surgeon can create the clinical confidence. But the coordinator is often the person who helps patients actually move forward with the surgery, i.e. convert. The role can make or break a refractive program. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through the 4 biggest mistakes practices make when hiring a refractive coordinator. So grab a coffee or your favorite energy drink and let's get into it. The first mistake is hiring for experience instead of personality. Most practices immediately look for someone with 10 or 20 years of sales experience that they most likely cannot afford, or simply they're overqualified. And I get it. On paper, that sounds logical. You think, this person really knows how to close. This person knows how to sell. This person knows how to handle objections. But the best refractive coordinators are not hard closers. They're educators. They're listeners. They are relationship builders. They know how to sit across from a nervous patient, slow the conversation down, and help that person feel safe while making a big decision. Would I like somebody with sales experience? Absolutely. But I do not need somebody who has spent the last 20 years learning how to pressure people. I would rather have somebody with 1 to 2 years of real customer-facing experience, a great personality, high emotional intelligence, and a strong follow-through process. Because we can teach people LASIK. We can teach people why an ICL or refractive lens exchange is better for their particular situation. We can teach somebody financing as a way to close. We can teach someone how to answer, why does it cost so much? We can teach the process. We cannot teach warmth. We cannot teach curiosity. We cannot teach empathy. We cannot teach drive. And we cannot teach someone who genuinely cares about the person sitting in front of them. So hire for personality and potential and train for everything else. A refractive coordinator is not a receptionist, they're not an order taker, and they're definitely not just a person who gets the patient on the schedule. If this person touches 40 consults a month and your average surgery revenue is several thousands of dollars per procedure, this is not just an administrative position. This is a revenue critical position. In many practices, this one person influences millions of dollars in revenue every single year. So when you advertise it like a scheduling job, or pay it like a scheduling job, or manage it like a scheduling job, do not be surprised when you get scheduling level performance. And I see it all the time. The practice wants a high performing coordinator, but the job post sounds like a front desk position. The compensation sounds like a front desk position. The training sounds like a front desk position. And then everybody is frustrated when this person doesn't perform like a consultative sales professional. And it's not fair to the employee. It's not good for the practice. It's just not good for anyone. How you define the role determines who you are going to attract to it. Here's a simple question. What percentage of your qualified refractive consultations are converting into surgery? If you don't know the answer, that is the problem. The best refractive programs track consultation to surgery conversion religiously. And notice how I said qualified consultations, because Not everyone who walks through the door is a surgical candidate. Not everyone is financially ready. Not everyone is serious. But among the patients who are qualified, your coordinator should be helping the majority move confidently towards surgery. For example, if 40 qualified patients come in for a consultation and 24 schedule surgery, that's a 60% conversion rate. A healthy benchmark is often around 65%. Some practices will even be higher. But if you're not tracking the number, you're just simply guessing. And guessing can be expensive. You cannot fix something that you're not measuring, so start measuring conversion rates immediately. A lot of practices say, we'll just bonus the coordinator based on procedure volume. On paper, that sounds pretty simple. More surgeries equal more bonus. But the only thing you reward is volume. You may accidentally reward the wrong behavior. It could make the refractive coordinator too aggressive in trying to close the patient. Patients can feel when they're being pressured or pushed. They can feel when the coordinator is trying to close them instead of help them. And if trust drops, conversion rates drop too. You'll get bad Google reviews saying your practice only cares about money. You'll see OD and MD referrals drop off, and overall volume begins to suffer. And there's the problem. A bonus should be paid from profit, not just production. Because if you're paying bonuses before the practice is actually profitable, you're not really paying a bonus. This is a salary with just a different name. For example, let's say your program needs 25 eyes a month just to break even. Your bonus should not start at eye number 1. It should start really after the practice crosses a profitability threshold. Maybe that's 30 eyes, maybe that's 40 eyes. Every practice is different, but the principle remains the same. Know your break-even point before you design a bonus program. Otherwise, you'll be rewarding volume that's actually not creating a profit. The best bonus plans balance multiple metrics, including volume, conversion, patient experience, and profitability. The best bonus plans might say, once a practice passes break even, the coordinator becomes eligible for a bonus. Then the bonus can scale based on qualified consult to surgery conversion ratios or procedure volume, revenue, patient experience, or monthly goals. For example, many successful practices require the coordinator to maintain at least a 65% qualified consult to surgery conversion rate before they're even eligible for a bonus. Then the actual bonus can scale based on procedure volume, revenue, monthly goal obtainment, or whatever makes sense for that practice. This keeps the focus where it belongs, educating patients, building trust, helping the right patients move forward, not simply pushing procedures, not being pushy, not being closey or salesy, because the goal is not to pressure every single patient into surgery. The goal is to help the right patients make confident decisions. That's the difference between a refractive coordinator who just simply sells a procedure and a refractive coordinator who helps build your refractive program. So how much does a great refractive coordinator actually cost? It really depends on your market, but in many areas, a strong refractive coordinator earns somewhere between $60,000 and $70,000 in base compensation plus bonuses. Top performers can easily earn substantially more. I've seen bonus structures range from $20,000 to well over $100,000, depending on the size of the practice and the volume of consultations they see and where they're located. But here's the math that really matters. If your coordinator helps you generate even 100 additional procedures per year, the position pays for itself many times over. So don't focus just on cost, focus on return. Because the difference between an average refractive coordinator and a great refractive coordinator can be the difference between a flat refractive program and one that grows year after year. One of my favorite quotes is by Benjamin Franklin. The bitterness of poor quality remains long after the sweetness of cheap prices are forgotten. And it just means you get what you pay for. Patients are not just buying a procedure. They're buying confidence, they're buying visual freedom, they're buying convenience, they're buying a better quality of life. And your surgical coordinator is the one person that helps them believe the decision is worth it and they deserve it. Here's a few red flags that you may have noticed if you've hired the wrong person. Patients constantly say, I need to think about it. Follow-up is inconsistent. Financing is mentioned sometimes awkwardly, too late, or worse, not at all. Consults feel rushed, the coordinator talks more than they listen, and patients leave without a clear next step. The surgeon simply feels like every consult needs to be rescued. And nobody in the practice can tell you what the actual conversion rate is. If this sounds familiar, you do not just have a hiring problem. You have a revenue leak. And the longer this goes unmeasured, the more expensive it gets. According to MarketScope, refractive volume is down 54% since Q1 of 2022, mostly due to economic reasons. Let's face it, Americans have less disposable income or they've maxed out their credit cards since COVID. With that said, for the purpose of this video, if your refractive volume is not where you want it to be, do not automatically blame your marketing, do not automatically blame your surgeon, and do not automatically assume patients are just shopping around for price. Take a hard look at the person guiding patients through the decision-making process, because the right refractive coordinator can transform a practice. The wrong one can quietly cost you hundreds of procedures and hundreds of thousands of dollars every single year. I put together a refractive coordinator hiring scorecard, the traits, questions, and compensation structure I would look at when making this hire. It's the same thing we've been using at Denali Creative for years, and you can grab it for free in the description of this video. If you have any questions about hiring, training, conversion tracking, compensation plans, or marketing, drop them in the comments. I read every one. One last message. I'm really trying to grow this YouTube channel. So if you like what you saw today, please hit that subscribe button below for future video content. I'm Paul Stubenbordt with Denali Creative. Thank you so much for watching.